This is a mockup that I did for front end of Comfy. This is split into modules, so you can have the mood board, the storyboard, the world builder, the upscaler, the animation, and then the delivery. The first module, the mood board, it's something very common in the film production. This is a standard process. So you can have the locations, and you can have the casting, the photography, and the production design. I mean, this is pretty standard for any production company. The idea is to create a control net or an IP adapter or even a LoRa for the model that we're going to use. We're going to have, of course, the storyboard. The idea is up here, you can create your reverse engineering prompt. Why is this? I mean, it can give us the prompt for what it sees, and then we can copy and paste it up in here, and then make some tweak and changes in the prompt itself. So we can, of course, create pretty simple a first image, but this first prompt is actually calling all the LoRa's and all the IP adapters that we already created from the past module. Some of the platforms already get until this phase, and then you have to jump into another tools to get exactly the image that you already have. So we click on here. Up here we have control net, right? And then, for example, we have the scribble, so we can make sure the pose that we're looking for, or we can have the loose control, of course, and even depth math, or even we can use the scribble and the pose, for example. Over here is reading all the LoRa's that we are adding, mostly on the main character. Over here we can have what is the weight within the reference that we're given, the control nets, even the IP adapters, or the prompt itself. The idea with the prompt is it will be a concatenated prompt, so we can send different beats for each part. And then, of course, we're going to have here how much detail we want. I mean, this is how many steps are we going to use for the rendering of the process. We can have a first draft, so we can, start the tweaking and then go to an extra detail and control the seed, of course. And then over here, we're going to have, of course, the model. The idea is to work with Stable Diffusion 1.5, which has a lot of LoRa's and a lot of already trained and style models, and of course a lot of looks that we can work with it because it's faster. The idea is to create a simple image, and from there, then we can start to tweak and add some stuff to make it more believable and realistic. We can have either a look LoRa or a style LoRa, like anime LoRa or anything, and then we can add another LoRa. I mean, it can be a style LoRa or even a detailer, and of course we can add some more LoRa's in the middle, but the idea is to make it simple at the beginning. The main idea of this module is to create a loop, so you can have any kind of iterations until you get to the point that you're looking for. So over here we're going to have the input image, and then add another step and another step, another step, until we get to the point that we're looking for. And then, of course, we have the iterations over here. It's the result of each iteration. Because you can jump here also into the painting and make some changes, the clothing or the background or even the lighting. You can call another LoRa to change the lighting or the look or anything. I mean, that's the idea of to create an infinite loop within the same image. And then, of course, we can have a Gaussian splat where you can tweak a little bit, the camera. And right after the Gaussian splat, you can also help the model with a control net over here, like a scribble, for example. And then it will understand, the lines that you want to follow. If you want to specify an aspect of the image that instead of the model making its own decision. Once you're happy with the image, it will jump straight into the storyboard, so you can have this first image exactly the way you want it. Until this point, there's a lot of tools that already exist. The thing is, most of the tools, you have to jump back and forth, and you have to create all these workflows and nodes and everything. The idea of this is not meant to be for already an editor. It's for a filmmaker who wants to create the things the way he thinks before he starts to generate. And then we have another tool, I'm calling it World Builder. You can use a previous software, for example, like a Rainforge, for example, where you can have full control of the camera and the angles and the props. This is a very simple 3D program that it helps us to get the shot at the beginning. You can have a basic shot. But over here, because we're working within same environment, we can call all the lores and all the control net that we already settled before. We can use this simple 3D image as a reference to create a more cinematic image. Why is that? Because we're teaching the model that we're using exactly the way we want it. So it will be consistent within each iteration. Actually, there's a company here in Spain that's actually developing a tool that's going to be very helpful in these cases, where you can type a prompt and then create the world from the scratch. And then they use a real engine, so you can move the camera back and forth. We can import another world. It can be either created, using real engine, a bridge with Blender. I mean, the idea is to simplify this step, right? And then we have the info of the kind of shot and the lenses and aperture and the sensor that we are looking for. We already are in a 3D world. We can have some store shots of what we're doing. So we can have many iterations in the future. And over here, of course, is global automation. And this is slider, so you can check the difference between the 3D image and the first generated image. What happens after this step? Of course, you can add this also to the storyboard. And from there, you can start to change every single detail, with the scribble and the inpainting. What this is trying to do is try to avoid all these long, huge workflows that is hard to follow, and to simplify them into what you're looking for. You're not looking for 1,000 different images. You're looking for one single image that is going to be the first one, going to be the seed for the video generation. Oh, here, of course, you will have an upscaler and then the animation where you can have more LoRa's and more control nets, or you can use any model that you like. And of course, the delivery module where you can batch rendering for professional workflow. You can actually render it in ACES, so it's going to be easier to match the colors from the real footage, for example, if you have it. This is the first step of something that I'm developing for myself. I already work this way. The thing is, I'm doing this within Comfy, so I just can send my workflow in Comfy to anyone because it will work. Some of the nodes are custom nodes that I did. I had to make some changes within the Python. They can work in Mac, because most of my colleagues works also in Mac. So the idea is to create like an API so you can connect to Comfy Cloud, for example, or so you can use their computing power to render all this image at the end. Most of this at the beginning, you can usually do it locally until you send the final rendering. This is a working process, but I did this to myself so I can figure out my own workflow. This comes from trial and error for someone who actually are trying to do something within the AI. I hope you like it. This is just a draft. If anyone has any idea, maybe we can work together. Please let me know. You can see what happens, and welcome to the AI world.